If you spent a lot of time and effort finding your dream condo, imagine how disappointed you would feel if the application were delayed or even worse, denied due to issues arising from the Condo Association's Purchase Application Approval Process. As a former condo manager, I've processed hundreds of purchase applications. I've noticed that many applications are either delayed or disapproved due to their incompleteness or lack of proper documentation. Often, this stems from the real estate agents failing to take an active role in the application process. That's why it's vital for prospective buyers to arm themselves with the knowledge about the application process. Don't rely solely on the real estate agent. Understanding the process yourself could be the key to ensuring approval of your purchase. Hello and welcome to the All About Condos channel, your go-to source for all things condo related. Brought to you by Ickpens International Realty. I'm Octavio Rueda, your host and personal condo consultant, here to guide you effortlessly through the challenges of buying and owning a condo. The application process is vital for any buyer, especially after signing the contract. It becomes particularly crucial if the condo purchase is subject to your association's approval, a common scenario in Florida. You may already be familiar with the application procedure from my video, Buying a Condo Like a Pro, but rest assured that this tutorial is filled with additional valuable insights. In this video, we'll delve deeper into the application process, highlighting some other essential aspects. Whether you're buying a condo in Florida or any other state, I'm confident that the steps and insights I'm about to share will guide you smoothly through the process, helping you to obtain the approval you need from the Condo Association. However, if you're purchasing a condo outside of Florida, it's advisable to consult with local real estate professionals. The specific terms and conditions of the association application process may vary depending on the real estate laws in the state where you intend to purchase the condo. Now that we've covered that, let's dive in. As you may already know, after signing the contract, the first step should be to obtain the purchase application package. If your real estate agent doesn't already have it, most condo associations provide the package as a digital file to download from their website. If it's not available online, contact the management office. Let them know you're a prospective buyer and you need to obtain a copy of the purchase application package. And by all means, if no one answers when you call the management office, don't hesitate to leave a message. Keep in mind that not all management offices have sufficient staffing to handle every incoming call immediately. If you can't get through, be sure to leave a message. That said, even though you leave a message, you might need to call back again. Nevertheless, after the initial phone call, whether you speak to someone directly or leave a message, I recommend transitioning all your communications to a written format, with email being the preferred method. When you contact the management office, consider posing the following questions. Initially, I recommend inquiring about the significant ownership restrictions that may be unclear to you. These can encompass architectural, pet, rental, occupancy, and vehicle restrictions. Unless you've already reviewed the condo documents and seen these restrictions in writing, it's advisable to ask for clarity before paying the non-refundable application fee. Inquire about the entire application processing duration, from the initial submission to the conclusion of the required interviews or orientation meetings. Understanding this time frame upfront allows you and your real estate agent to coordinate the closing date with the board's approval date. In Florida, most condo associations operate with a 30-day review period, although it can be extended to 45 days. It's not uncommon for prospective buyers or real estate agents to request an expedited review of their application because closing dates were set before the buyer's interview and approval certificate issuance. However, not every condo association is likely to accommodate such requests to rush this crucial process. Also, ensure that you confirm whether the provided time frame is based on calendar or business days. Business days typically account for a 5-day work period, so that the distinction can be significant. Inquire about how the application package should be submitted. Are digital applications accepted, or does the association only accept paper applications? Ask about the application fee and whether it can be paid electronically. This fee varies by state and is typically determined by the condo statutes. For example, in Florida, the statutory condo application fee was recently increased to $150 per individual applicant and $200 for a married couple. However, separate fees may apply, for example, for doing background screening reports. Find out under what circumstances the application fee is refunded. It's essential to know whether the association will refund the fee if the application is not approved due to no fault of the applicant. Inquire about what the background check involves and the time it takes. Condo associations either conduct these checks themselves or hire a third-party service. These checks typically involve employment verification, civil liens, judgments, evictions, foreclosures, criminal records, and credit ratings. Unless adverse information is discovered, this process should usually take a day or two at most. Identify who reviews the application, the board or the management. If the board members are responsible, the overall processing time might be longer since they are volunteers and will review the applications when they have the time. If the manager or the management staff reviews the application, request the manager's name and email address, along with the best way to reach them by phone, email, or by appointment. And finally, also find out if there's a master association. When there's a master association, they may oversee the approval process as well. This could mean another application or additional steps that you may have to undertake. Given that these are numerous questions, you might not get all the answers from the person who initially picks up the call. As an alternative, you can email the questions to the person overseeing the association approval process. I strongly recommend documenting as much information as possible in writing, preferably via email, and setting up a dedicated file for it. A well-documented application file can be invaluable if any issues or delays arise during the process. Upon receiving the application package, thoroughly review the instructions with your real estate agent to understand the key requirements for the approval. As you navigate through the instructions, I suggest highlighting the requirements and checking them off as you complete the application package, much like you do with a shopping list. Please note, some condominium purchase applications are longer than others in terms of questions and prerequisites. Expect to encounter personal questions and be required to provide detailed financial information and personal references. The length of the application and volume of the documents requested by an association should not be viewed as discriminatory or unreasonable, provided the process application and the required documentations are the same for every applicant. Let's now discuss some universal association processes and procedures you should anticipate. Most procedures will be subject to board approval, especially the purchase or transfer of ownership of a unit within a condo association. The sale cannot be finalized without the signed certificate of approval from the board of directors. In Florida, county property registers require a copy of the certificate of approval to record the property's deed in the public records. You'll also need to provide documents that confirm your bank balance, your vehicle registration and proof of insurance, your income tax records, and any personal references. Furthermore, you'll need to indicate how many people will be occupying the unit and provide copies of the picture IDs for all the adults. Your employment record and income will likely be verified. You may be required to provide an employment letter stating your employment term. If you're self-employed, you need to provide the corresponding supporting documents. Expect a background check for any adverse information. As I stated earlier, most condo associations hire a third-party screening service to investigate any criminal convictions or civil judgments such as evictions, foreclosures, and bankruptcies. Unsurprisingly, your credit worthiness will be evaluated. However, there's no universal minimum credit score. Each association sets its own standards. Typically, you need to attend an interview or what's sometimes called an orientation meeting. While these used to be in person, virtual interviews have now become the norm due to the COVID lockdowns. If you have any issues with any questions on the application or providing necessary documentation, I strongly recommend discussing it with your real estate agent as soon as possible, preferably before paying the application fee. Your agent can reach out to the board of directors or manager overseeing the screening process to determine how best to address the issue. It's absolutely imperative that all information provided on the application is truthful and accurate. In fact, it's better to leave a question blank than provide an answer that a background check can disprove. For example, in situations where the buyer has had adverse background information, I've been approached by the buyer or their agent, and we've been able to address the issue with having the buyer write a letter explaining the mitigating circumstances behind the adverse information in their background. Only submit applications when it is fully completed and all the supporting documents are in place. Do not submit incomplete applications or sets of documents. The application process doesn't begin until the management office receives the full application package with the corresponding application fee. If you submit an application package via email, ensure to request a receipt acknowledgement from the management office or the recipient. Similarly, if you're personally delivering the application package, ask for a receipt. If you're sending the package via regular mail, consider sending it registered mail with a confirmation receipt. After you submit the application, limit the number of people involved in monitoring the application process with the management office and maintain clear and concise communication. It becomes very chaotic when multiple parties like the buyer, the buyer's agent, the seller's agent, and the title company are all inquiring about the status of a single application. Typically, the management communicates directly with the applicant or the real estate agent who is the authorized representative. So after the application is submitted, decide on who will be following up with the management office about the application status. Note, if you're tracking the application status yourself, keep your real estate agent informed of the process and include them in all communications with management. With the information collected at the start of the process, you can address any issues or delays that might arise during the application review. If you were told the total application time was 30 days and find it's not on track for completion on the 30th day, you can escalate the situation to ensure compliance with the specified time frame. The usual chain of command in a condo association includes staff, assistant manager, any onboarding committee member, and the board of directors. When addressing any issues, it's important to maintain professionalism and have the necessary documentation on hand. Clear, rational communication is essential, especially when there are delays and time is of the essence. If you've met all the requirements, it's advisable to review the condo documents thoroughly to understand the guidelines the association must follow when processing purchase applications. By doing so, you'll be in a much better position to make your case. Condominium documents often specify the terms, conditions, and time frame for the application process, review, and approval. In Florida, for instance, most condo documents state that the application must be approved or denied within 45 days of receipt, or else the approval is granted by default. In other words, if the association fails to process an application within the stipulated time frame, the application and hence the purchase is automatically approved. The interview, also known as the orientation meeting, is the final step in the application process. It is crucial to undergo this step to obtain the board's certificate of approval, which is necessary to finalize the sale. In Florida, the title company needs to have the certificate at the time of closing, as it is required to accompany the deed when sent for recording at the county. Once the management office completes the application review and processing, the application package is given to the person conducting the interview, typically a board member or a member of the onboarding committee or welcoming committee if there is one. You will then receive a phone call or an email from the management or the person conducting the interview indicating the time and date of the meeting. This is a good time to inquire if the certificate of approval will be issued upon the completion of the interview, if you haven't already done so. The meeting is typically conducted by 1 or 2 board members or members of the onboarding welcoming committee and lasts about 45 minutes. The meeting can be held in person or virtually. The primary purpose of the meeting is to review the condo association's rules and regulations. However, it's a perfect opportunity to get answers to any lingering questions from the due diligence period. To optimize the meeting, I recommend submitting your questions in writing in advance. At the end of the meeting, you should receive the signed certificate of approval necessary for the closing. Some condo associations issue a new owner's welcome package which includes information about amenities, administrative procedures, such as obtaining access cards, vehicle decals, guest parking permits, or concierge services. And so with the conclusion of the interview comes the end of the application process, and that brings us to the end of this tutorial. Well, kind of. I felt compelled to add a section to this tutorial that deals with the possibility of the application being denied. Although I'm sure 99% of you watching this tutorial won't encounter this problem, given that you know what you know about the application process. So if you feel fully prepared at this point, you can stop watching here if you wish. However, in the next 5 minutes or so, I'll share some insights on a topic we all hope to avoid but should be aware of. What happens when an application is denied and the steps to take if the situation arises. If you're going to stop watching, first of all, thank you for watching this tutorial, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. Now, let's proceed to discuss this not so pleasant experience. As I mentioned earlier, purchase applications are subject to board approval. Therefore, the denial of an application will ultimately be based on the decision of the board of directors acting on behalf of the condo association and should be determined by a majority vote of the board members. If, for whatever reason, your application is denied, the denial will be notified in writing, either in the form of a letter from the board of directors or from management on behalf of the board. The notification typically arrives via regular or certified mail, though it might be also emailed. Please note that most denial letters tend to be somewhat vague and usually do not provide specific details. Rarely does the initial denial letter provide explicit reasons for the denial. However, it's crucial to understand the reasons behind the denial and to document the process. If the reasons for the denial aren't clear to you, or if they seem unacceptable, you should escalate the issue by contacting the management office or the board of directors for further clarification. Once again, always document everything in writing. In Florida, a board of directors might base its decision on specific terms and conditions outlined in the condo documents, board enacted policies and rules and regulations, as well as more general legal factors such as prior convictions for felonies involving violence to persons or property, evidence of extreme dishonesty, or a history of financial irresponsibilities such as adverse credit reports, foreclosures, or bankruptcies. Once you've received the denial letter, check to see that it contains the specifics as to the reason for the denial. This should include reference information such as a page and number or paragraph number from the source material that the board used to make their decision. The most common source for this decision-making process are the condo documents, such as the declaration, bylaws, rules and regulations, or amendments. Therefore, the denial letter should refer to these specific condo documents. Upon receipt, thoroughly review and evaluate this information. If you have a copy of the condo documents, be sure to cross-verify the information. If the decision was based on information from the background report, the denial letter should include the contact information of the third-party service provider that supplied the information. You can then request a copy of the report from them, and upon receipt, thoroughly review and evaluate this information. If you believe that your application was denied unjustly, you can submit an appeal letter to the board of directors. This letter should cite the source of the decision and provide a clear explanation as to why you believe your application should not have been denied. Send it to the president of the board of directors or to whoever signed the denial letter. If in doubt, you can always ask the management office to whom the letter should be addressed. If your appeal letter doesn't yield the desired results and you wish to escalate the matter, you will need to contact the department in your state that oversees condominium associations. For example, in Florida, the Department of Business and Professional Regulations oversees the condominium associations and handles related complaints or disputes. You can visit the institution's website to find the necessary information and the forms to file a complaint or dispute against an association. When dealing with institutions overseeing condominium associations, it's important to have everything documented and follow the proper channels to address any issues. If you believe the denial is a result of discriminatory practices rather than a legitimate evaluation of the information in your application. It's worthwhile to explore your rights and protections under the fair housing laws. Federal, state, and county fair housing laws have been established to ensure that all who provide residential housing, including condominium associations, comply to prevent discrimination in the application process for renting or buying a condo. Two key aspects of the Federal Fair Housing Act that apply to the condo application process are the following. Condo associations cannot refuse an application based on a person's race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, or disability. For instance, a condo board can't reject a person's application due to their religion or ethnicity. Condo associations must make reasonable accommodations to rules, policies, practices, or services when necessary to afford a person with a disability equal opportunity to use and enjoy a dwelling, including public and common use spaces. Although the Federal Fair Housing Act sets the foundation for the protection afforded to all residents, states and local counties have adopted and implemented additional protections under the Federal Fair Housing Act. You can check with your state and local county for the adaptations to the federal act they may have adopted and for services offered to residents. Unlike federal law, the Florida Fair Housing Act includes age and pregnancy as protected classes. This means that it's illegal to discriminate against someone because of their age when selling or renting housing in Florida. The law also explicitly includes pregnancy in the definition of sex discrimination, meaning it's unlawful to discriminate against a woman because she is pregnant. Be sure to seek professional advice in your area if you're unsure about any aspects of the process. It's always advisable to consult with a legal expert to fully understand the regulations applicable in your specific locations or situation. With that, we have now arrived at the official conclusion of this tutorial. The application approval process for buying a condominium is an essential step, and I've outlined the key procedures and tips to help buyers navigate it smoothly. Though it may seem tedious, this thorough screening is more than just a formality. It's the association's first line of defense, ensuring that only suitable applicants become part of the community. This not only safeguards the association's interests, but also ensures a good quality of life and harmony for all unit owners, making it a vital process for the collective membership. As you navigate this process, I strongly recommend documenting everything and maintaining good records of both digital and non-digital communications. Keeping meticulous records can be crucial, especially if you encounter issues along the way. I hope the information I've provided will help you smooth out the process and ensure a positive outcome. As always, I hope you found this video both useful and interesting. If you did, before you leave, please click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share the link with a friend or relative who could benefit from this tutorial. And please don't hesitate to email me if you have any questions or need additional information. Thank you for watching, and God bless.